Alhamdulillah, and today our session is about the world of the Jinn. And I know that this session is going to have a lot of questions, so we want to make sure that we accommodate time for everybody's questions as well. But Sheikh Walid, of course, has taught on this topic for many years. Sheikh Kamal has taught on this topic for many years, so we're looking forward to hearing some beautiful insights on the world of the Jinn. But I wanted to begin, Sheikh, just with this word itself, Jinn. It's a very interesting word. It has a lot of commonalities with different words in the Arabic language as well. What does it mean?
Jannah, يعني istatara, it means something concealed. So something you don't see. Okay, and that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about al-jinn. قال إنه يراكم هو وقبيله من حيث لا ترونه. They see you from a position where you cannot see them. You know, occasionally people can see the jinn, you know, but the norm, the default rules that we don't see the jinn. They are with us, but we can't see them with our eyes, in this dunya at least, and in their original form. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concealed them. He made it not possible for us to see it. It's like angels are also concealed. We can't see them. And I guess it makes perfect sense.
How so?
Yeah, you can imagine if I see all the jinn in the masjid right now. You know, how terrifying this will be, or how distracting. How would you drive on the highway and you see the jinn all over the place when you're driving? How would you go to the bathroom? How would you eat? Oh, okay. You know, it just once I was teaching in Toronto, okay, and jinn can come to you while you're when you're awake, and
okay.
Sometimes they come to you in your dream too. So, but I'm pretty sure I was not asleep. But even if it's sleep, it's still the story check. So I was in Toronto teaching Al-Aqidah Al-Wasitiyya, I remember, by Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah. Okay, and while I'm sleeping, you know, I felt like something waking me up. So I wake up and I see that thing, like, it looks like a woman sitting on on my bed. And I was like, am I asleep? Am I awake? Is this a dream? But sometimes even when you dream, you ask yourself, am I asleep? You know what I'm talking about? But I'm pretty sure, like, I got my Bismillah and stuff like that. Then I said, A'udhu billahi minash rajim. Who are you? Or something like that. Then said, don't teach this in our city. And just went away.
Al-Aqidah Al-Wasitiyya.
Yeah. It looks like Ash'ari jinn or something like that. Like some, you know, Mu'tazili jinn. You know, but, you know, sometimes they come to you in a form. They send you messages. Yeah, they come to you in a form, like where you can see them. But in any way...
I've heard, Sheikh, by the way, that they come, that period that you just described between being asleep and being awake, like in that moment, that's a lot of times is when jinn appear.
I don't know, there's no proof for that, but that shows you also can be a lot of imaginations of people's brain work on them and make them see things which is not true, or really imagine that. But the jinn comes to us in our dreams, and they come to us in our real reality. So we see them in two forms, like you see them while you're sleeping in your dream, and you see them also while you're awake sometimes. But do you see them in their original form? There is a debate over that between the scholars. Majority said you cannot see them ever in their original form. Some said no, very rarely you can. But the whole point of jinn is that also jinn something means fast, usually concealed, and it gives you the thing that's it's very quickly, very fast. But al-jinn is not all of them, by the way, fast. This idea that all jinn could be crazy fast, that's not true. Because the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said some jinn are crawler. They crawl, like they
crawl, yeah.
Crawl. They're not fast, you know. Some of them fly, some of them walk. So they are in the different abilities.
So one of the things Sheikh Ammar and I were talking about, one of our goals was that the audience doesn't leave scared. So I don't want these, especially now I've got a lot of young folks here. Now they're gonna wake up and check the edge of their bed every night. Like,
you should.
The single brothers are gonna check for different reasons, and then little kids are going to check for other reasons. But it's rare, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very, 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 very rare.
It doesn't sound rare when you talk to the Muslim community. Everyone seems like they have a jinn story, or they're afraid of some sort of sihr, or something of that nature, or they're afraid of being. We got into what's it called? What's the word when a person is possessed? It seems like a lot of people think that that's what they're experiencing whenever they have that type of an issue in their family.
Yeah, there's a lot of like anything that people don't see. There's a lot of like imagination,
Hysteria.
and like curiosity about it, and a lot of like made up stories and stuff like that. But hopefully in this setting we can clarify some of these things.
Okay. So Sheikh Umar, why shouldn't people be afraid of the jinn?
Because they're actually afraid of you. They're afraid of you. A lot of them are actually, tiny, small like this. You're a giant next to them. And
so it's like a person who's afraid of a mouse.
I guess so.
You're afraid of them, but they're actually afraid of you.
Yeah, the mouse is completely terrified of you, and there's no reason to be afraid of it. Cockroach is different. The point is that they're tiny, they're scared of you, but when they see fear from you, then they start to scare you. You know the verse in Surah Al-Jinn, وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ رِجَالٌ مِّنَ الْإِنسِ يَعُوذُونَ بِرِجَالٍ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ فَزَادُوهُمْ رَهَقًا. Some of the Mufassirin mentioned that story of how before a man would be traveling through the desert, and then when he wants to camp in a valley, he would seek the protection of the leader of the jinn of that valley. He will say, أعوذ بسيد هذا الوادي من سفهاء قومه, like from the others in his tribe, but these are under his control or leadership. So then, when they saw that people were afraid of them, they start to scare them more. If you're not afraid of them, they leave you alone. If you're scared of them, and the example I use are little dogs, toy breeds, what they call toy, small breeds. Another word for them in America, we refer to them as ankle biters. Why are they called ankle biters? Have you ever met anyone who was bitten by a chihuahua here in his shin? Never. They only bite your ankle because they only become emboldened and brave when you run away from them. How many times have you been at a park, this dog came at you, small dog, came barking, but you stood your ground, the dog stopped and turned around. But if you run, what happens? It runs after you and it nips you right in the ankle. So the jinn are the same way. You're afraid of them, then suddenly you start to see shadows move against the wall and you're frightened. If you're not afraid of them, I had some encounters with them, and I would just tell them, if you don't get out of here, I'll threaten them and stuff like that. They're like, oh, this guy's not afraid, and then they go away. So just threaten them.
Yeah, I 100%. I know that also for sure, that from looking into the textual evidence and from people in reality, those who have a very strong personality, very hard for the jinn to possess them, to hurt them. Those who are terrified. That's why jinn always try to attack humans when they are weak, in a moment of weakness. And maybe that's why some of it, when you sleep, not sleep, any moment of weakness. But when you're strong, you don't get scared of them. They have their own world. You have your own world. You don't need to worry about them.
So you got to give us.
Hassan al-Basri once saw someone about to enter to a dark alley. Then Hassan al-Basri the kid was scared. Hassan al-Basri told him, I'll tell you something. They're more scared of you than you scared of them. So if you go to the attic in the dark and stuff like that, don't worry, they are scared of you. They just don't want to mess with you. I can guarantee you that jinn just want to stay away from you as much as they can.
You mentioned a number of experiences with the jinn. You got to give us at least one.
They're not great stories. I think Sheikh Walid is known for his jinn stories. I knew a sheikh who had his own jinn stories. He met Sheikh Walid, this is like 15 years ago. He met Sheikh Walid somewhere. He came back to me. He's like, I was terrified from Sheikh Walid's stories. So if I tell you a story, it's not going to mean anything.
No, they are.
And nothing. Just
okay. So do you have a story?
No, I'm just saying, don't be scared of them. That's all.
Okay.
Type Sheikh, before we go forward, there is people who don't believe in jinn.
It's unanimous consensus of the scholars that you have to believe in the jinn. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the jinn in the Quran. قُلْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ أَنَّهُ اسْتَمَعَ نَفَرٌ مِنَ الْجِنِّ فَقَالُوا إِنَّا سَمِعْنَا قُرْآنًا عَجَبًا. So that's established. Is it not by consensus, Sheikh?
It is,
Okay.
100%.
So if a person disbelieves in the jinn, then they've disbelieved in the Quran.
The ulama rahimahullah agreed that anyone don't believe in the existence of jinn is not a Muslim. Period. Is not a Muslim. Because you deny something that is clearly stated in jinn. But there might be a debate between in the Islamic, among Muslims, but not among Sunni. I'll make sure you understand that. Among Muslims, but not among Sunni. There is no one from Ahl Sunnah said what I'm about to say. Only innovators, only misguided groups and sects said what I'm about to say. Which is, and denying this will not be considered kufr, but it will be considered bid'ah and just false belief. Which is, they deny that al-jinn possess human beings. That's never exist in a statement or opinion by any one of the Muslim scholars, Sunni scholars. But it was only an idea came by some of the Mu'tazila and the Jahmiyyah and stuff like that. They came up with this idea. But none in the Sunni circle ever, as far as I know, a scholar ever said that. And even if happened to be somebody said that, it will be the influence of that school of thought on them. But this issue does not make the person not Muslim. Because it's not as explicit as the mention of jinn. Some people try to say, oh, there is jinn, but jinn are viruses, bacteria, cancer.
So they made them a metaphor for something.
They made them metaphor. And there is some people said that. So this is, we don't deny the jinn, but we deny the fact that they are creatures like this. So is that means shaitan was a virus? Does that mean shaitan was, it's making no sense, but that's, believe it or not.
Corona is a tribe of jinn.
Yeah,
that's
not
stuff like that. Yeah, it would make sense to me if those people would say that al-jinn has to do with spreading viruses, with spreading diseases, because there is some hadith mention something that al-jinn, the disbelievers among them, hates human, and they will do whatever they can to harm humans, and part of it is physically to harm the persons and cause sickness and diseases to the person.
So we don't interact with the jinn. They're in their own world. We're in our own world. Not to be afraid of them. How does a person protect themselves from the jinn? Or even before that, what are the reasons why people do get harmed by the jinn?
Okay. And even before that, if I could comment on what we were just saying about, what were we just saying? We were just talking about how
they said that the jinn is a metaphor for something else.
Yeah.
Viruses
So
or
yes. So one time I was having a discussion with this guy. Yeah, and he was a speaker, and he just doesn't believe that the jinn can possess a human being, which is very, very, very rare. Let's get that out of the way. But
what, possession itself? Is
yeah,
very
jinn
rare?
possession.
Okay.
It's not like most of the time that it's bipolar. Most of the time it's something else. But we think everything is possession. It's very, very rare. So I was just asking him, like, you believe that they bring you nightmares, like the hadith says. So, okay, طيب, how does this other being, this jinni, come and put a bear in your mind? The nightmare is that the bear is chasing you, then you trip over a log, then you turn around and the bear goes like this, and then you wake up. طيب, that's a nightmare from the shaitan. How does he put a bear in a log and make you, how? So you have to acknowledge at some point that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them some ability outside of yours, and that's why the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam described that they basically travel through the body like the blood flows in the veins. The fact that Allah gave them some kind of different ability that they can bring you dreams, like He can whisper to you. Like when shaitan whispers to you, does it sound like the shaitan? Do you feel different in Ramadan and outside of Ramadan? Meaning, Ramadan comes and the shayateen are changed. Okay, let's follow that opinion. And then you feel different and your head is clear and your thoughts are pure. And then when Eid comes, you hear something go, we're back. You feel and sound like the same person. So when the shaitan whispers something to you, do you hear something, a voice, or it sounds like your thought? He cast it into your thought, right? So they do have some abilities. So why is it far-fetched to assume that they can very, very rarely possess the individual. It's not far-fetched. It's not ridiculous to assume that.
So that's one of their abilities.
They have a logic. The Mu'tazila, and a long time ago, they said, because jinn made of fire and you are made of clay, that's why two elements cannot be inside each other, which is the most ridiculous argument, logic argument you can ever hear in your life. Because if they are made of fire, it doesn't mean that they are fire. If you are made of clay, you're not a clay. If they are made of fire, I wouldn't need any heater in this last week when it was so cold, because jinn with dust all the time, so they keep you warm if they're on fire. You know what I'm saying? They're made of fire, but they're not fire. That's number one. Two, who said that two different elements cannot be inside each other? Don't you have bacteria in your body and you have viruses in your body, and they are completely different
You have a soul
elements
in your body.
Yeah, it's just that's just a very ridiculous type of argument.
But beyond possession, Sheikh, what are the powers of the jinn? What can they do?
Al-Jinn in general, when it comes to their interacting with human beings, their power is limited. And I want to show you how limited the jinn are and how weak the jinn are, which is help you not to ever be afraid of them. The Prophet ﷺ said, if you come inside the house and you say Bismillah and you close the door, no jinn, no matter how big he is, no matter how powerful he is, cannot ever open that door. And if you cover a food with saying Bismillah, no jinn ever can uncover that food. Just say Bismillah. Now, you say Bismillah and you lock the door and you put alarm and you lock it twice, and a human being comes and breaks in your house. Have no problem. That's right. But jinn cannot. That show you how a human being is so powerful. They don't care. But jinn will not be able to do that. They are very limited. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them in a way that separate from humans. Also, one of the things that the jinn, as the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Alhamdulillah alladhi ja'ala, that Allah, Alhamdulillah, that Allah made the powerful thing that the jinn have is just whispering. Whispering, just to whisper to you, to scare you, just that's that. But nothing more than that. Sometimes, in a very, when things are cross the line, that's when the harm happens. They can harm the person physically, because they have this ability to run through the veins. And one of the things that we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always to protect, not to be possessed with the jinn, not to be under the influence of sihr, where the sahir use the jinn to harm the person, or the ayn, the evil eye that involve the jinn in it. That's where it can harm the person physically, mentally. I've seen people, for example, for years that they've been harmed by the jinn and they cannot stand up. They literally paralyze them. And with the reading in the Qari, reading on them, and they were able to stand up and to walk normally after that. Inshallah. And also, when jinn harms somebody physically or mentally, you can reverse the impact. And this is an important point. You can reverse the impact of the jinn through physical treatment, medicine, physical therapy, because what they did, they made a form of disability. So basically what you do, you just redo what they done. So this can be done by the Rokia, but also can be done, and sometimes you need that medicine, and it's like this. Let's say, okay, there is chemical imbalance in the brain. Okay? What caused the imbalance in your brain? What caused that chemical imbalance in your brain? Doctors will not tell you, I don't know. Okay, what brought that virus to you? I don't know. I'm not saying it is, but I do have one of my options out there. Like I have 5 options. One of it could be the jinn. You see what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter what caused it, but I can reverse that, balance that chemical in your brain by taking the medication. Okay, that's fine. For me as a Muslim, as deal with the evidence and deal with science, I never been caught up in a corner where I have to choose. I can reconcile between both, in the end of the day. So that's important point, because sometimes when people get to me and tell me the shaitan, the jinn, the Daesh influence me, I always tell them, okay, do the ruqya, do the dua, do the adhkar, but also take medication, start exercising, start living your life, go to the gym. And if you go to the gym, I thought you're going to give me ruqya. Yes, I'm going to give you ruqya, but also you need to, you know what, to be active, to change your mood, to control the chemical imbalance that you have in your body that causing all this depression. So both works, and I do believe that the jinn have that influence on the person, negative impact on the person sometimes, and that's how you counter it.
So Sheikh, when you said weakness, right, that the jinn take advantage of weakness, so is it safe to say that the jinn take advantage of poor physical health and they take advantage of poor emotional and mental health?
I don't know about physical poor health, but definitely the second one.
Emotional and mental health.
Yeah, anyone have like weakness on their mentals and their emotional, like extreme love, they prey on people like that.
Sheikh, I want to get your opinion on something. I heard this general guideline from a sheikh many years ago. And he said, if, let's say a couple, they're not able to have children, but there is a clear, when they get checked on everything, there's a clear physical problem. The woman, her ovaries, something like that. He said, then here we don't ever think of jinn. But then he said, if everything is physically okay, then you could say it might be a jinn.
It could be. That's why the Adhkar, Al-Quran and Rokia will benefit you, never harm you.
So it's a fair rule.
Yeah.
Sah? Okay, I like it.
I'll tell you.
Sheikh, we need one story.
Okay, I'll tell you a story. I was teaching in Birmingham. Or I was teaching in England. I forgot which city now.
It probably was Birmingham.
In the middle of I was talking or reading Quran, and in the middle of the class, this person screamed with a louder voice, "Stop reading!" Like different voice, like let's say it's a girl, a voice of a man came out of this person, and heard took the chair and throw it, and people get terrified. Okay, and they told me before, by the way, this person obsessed with jinn, the community knows about it. So here they're so scared. So I was like teaching at the stage, and I said, "Okay, hold on. By the way, this is a paid class, and he didn't pay for it. She did, but you didn't."
The jinn.
It's jinn. So you need to pay for the class before I talk to you. Yeah.
That's great.
Not because I'm brave. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to tell everybody in the class, just take it easy. I mean, what are they going to do? So what if they possess with jinn? I mean, jinn, at the end of the day, they are weak. They are not that strong. You know, I remember one time I was reading on someone who possessed with jinn, and he told me, the jinn, he said, "I will kill your brother." And he mentioned my younger brother. And that person that I'm reading on him, he doesn't know my brother, he doesn't know anything about my family, he doesn't know where I live, and the person's actually mentioned my brother's name, where he lives, where we at, what he's doing right now. So it really was a freaky thing, you know, for him to do that, because I know that person, he doesn't know anything about me. 100%, I guarantee you that. Then I said, "No, you can't." He said, "No, I will." I said, "No, you can't." Because the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala have made everything and all the decree. So Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala have written anything bad for my brother would happen. If nothing happened to my brother, you're not going to be able to do it. Then he said, "You're afraid of me." I said, "I'm not afraid of you." He said, "I will." He threatened me to take me some country, and said, "Oh, actually, I would love to visit that country, but not with you." So, again, you have to hold yourself. For whatever reason, if you ever counter something like this, don't freak out. "Oh, I felt something moving." Okay, so what? There's not a gym, I'll move on. And they are in the house, they are in your room, they are with you. I have a bad news for you, good news for you. They've been with you 24/7. There is every human being, there is a jinn with them. Every human being. So nothing new. You've been living how long now? 20, 30, 50, 15, 10 years. There is a jinn with you 24/7. Ya Rasulullah, even you? He said, "Even me." So the jinn with you all the time. They're not going to pay. There's one jinn with every human being. So as for the rest of the jinn, no, they're not. I hope not. They're not in your room. or your house. They have their own places. Usually they live in abandoned places far away from people, in an area where people don't go there. Because they don't want to interact with humans.
Must be a lot of jinn in Texas then.
Space,
space.
mountains, holes, caves, bottom of the oceans, stuff like that. That's why when you go to abandoned places, abandoned houses, you always say Bismillah, A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem. Because if you say that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you from them. Yes.
So even when people are going camping and people are going caves and stuff like that, they say Bismillah. They make sure they do that.
A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajeem.
So I just remembered a story. First of all, disclaimer: I don't do what do you call it? Rokia.
Exorcisms.
Don't do exorcisms. Don't do Rokia. This was for a family member. I was doing it, and the jinn was very terrified of me, and I enjoyed that, and I milked that. I would like slam the bed, and he would shake and scare. He would get scared when I pull up to the house. She would know. She would say, "Oh, I knew you came because the minute you turn into the street, he started." I was like, "Hey, okay, and you better stay scared." The point is, I started. After a while, sometimes you get to speak to them, and I hope Sheikh Walid agrees with this. You're not really supposed to do back and forth with them. I know people who will ask them about the world of the jinn. They are such liars. Don't believe a word they say. My friend was telling me how they climb up to listen to the decree, and it's all lies. Don't listen to them, don't talk with them. Just tell them to get out. So when he started talking, I said, "Listen, are you Muslim or not?" And he was like, "I'm not Muslim." I was like, "Great. Here's an opportunity.
To give them da'wah.
To become a second degree black belt in da'wah. Because now I've moved into the world of the jinn as well."
Oh my goodness.
So I started hitting him with the da'wah techniques, and then he said the shahada.
So your techniques work in jinn and humans. Alhamdulillah. Good.
Well, let's see that. He said the shahada and started crying and making istighfar and sending salah upon the Prophet ﷺ, and I was even moved. I was like, this is amazing. Then I said, okay, now that you're Muslim, alhamdulillah, and you know what you're doing is haram, and you have to leave, so I'm going to count to 3, and I need you to come out of the left foot, and all that stuff. 1, 2, 3, nothing happened.
Why come out of the left foot?
Wallahi, I'm just, I heard Sheikh Walid say it, and I heard everybody say the left foot, and that way there's no injury too. If they come out of the left eye, they'll pop it. I don't know. Sheikh Walid?
They usually said the left foot out of humiliation.
Oh, kidda.
Yeah,
For the keep them humiliated.
Okay, so you say come out of the left foot, and then?
Yeah, I count again, nice and slow, nothing happens. I count again, nothing happens. I count again, nothing happens. I said, hey, aren't you gonna, I said, aren't you gonna leave? He goes, I said, didn't you just become Muslim? He said, I said, you were faking? He goes, So now every video I've seen of a jinn taking shahada on YouTube, I don't believe it. Any word you hear from the jinn, I don't believe. Just take it at face value. And so he didn't get out, and we just went back to slamming the bed.
Al-Jinn, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, يَكْثُرْ فِيهُمُ الْكَذِبُ وَالْجَهَلِ. It's a comment that they are so ignorant, like you do one thing to them, they do 10 back to you. But Al-Jinn among the Muslims.
Al-Jahl meaning they take revenge?
Ignorance, like their reaction is so bad. Like I'll give you an example. One time we were in Mecca, and we rented a house. So it was old house, and it was terrible place to take. But that time there is very limited hotels and stuff like that. This is like what, in the 80s, okay, 1980s. So we took this floor, 2 apartments. We're a big group, come a high schooler. And anyway, so we stayed there, and one of our guys became acting very weird. And you can tell like there's something wrong. And he starts saying things like it's not normal for human beings. Like for example, he would say, Walid outside in the street, and he laying down. And all of a sudden I came. I said, Muhammad is gonna knock on the door. And how would he know that? It's on the street. He's in the alley. Stuff like that, which is basically shows you that this is something beyond the ability of human beings. And it's not like it's a random time. It's not like I come every day in that time. We just arrived to Mecca. So it's not there. No logical possibility for him to figure out where I am, or the other person, or the third person. And there's three people that always he used to mention their names. One of them, me, and hate me the most. And he's one of my best friends. Like there's nothing between us. So in any case, and we read in him and the jinn in him. He said, "This person is a bad Muslim." My friend. I said, "Why?" He said, "First, we live here." I said, "Okay, so what if you live here?" He said, "This is our place." I said, "No, it's not. The owner of the place upstairs. He's the one who rented the apartment. If you have a problem, go take it with him, not with us. If we're not supposed to rent it, deal with the guy upstairs. He owns the building." That's number one. Number two, we rented it. And in Islam, if I rent a place, I have the right to live in it, to use it. He said, he sat without saying Bismillah. I said, saying Bismillah is not wajib. Yani, you are possessing his body, you harming your Muslim brothers, just because he missed a sunnah? You doing haram because he missed a sunnah? He said, he should know better. I said, no, you should know better. He doesn't see you, you see him. You see him gonna sit, and he's a big guy, 6'5" or something like that. You move. Lazy, you know. I said, you move. Then he said, and he started not talking, khalas, anymore.
You got stumped.
So, yeah, so they are very ignorant, very, very aggressive. And subhanAllah, when they harm a human being, and my experience, this human being became, whatever reason, vulnerable for them. This person's stayed for years, get hunted by them, harmed by them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah, he's fully recovered now, and he's in a very good shape. But that's something I will never forget, and it was something, an early time experience to see how the jinns are ignorant. But as I said, you have to be very careful because it can be very tricky. A Moroccan lady called me in Houston, told me, "Sheikh, my daughter is possessed with jinn. She's speaking tongues and stuff like that. She's a teenager." I go to her house, I talk to the girl, and the girl like, "Ooh, it's like I'm making a voice of a man." Okay? Then I said, "Okay, so you're a jinn?" She said, "Yes." I said, "From where?" It's like from Mars, whatever, living outside. Immediately I know that there is a lie here, because jinn cannot leave the earth like us. They live here, they die here, they will be resurrected here. So anyway, I said to the mom, "Can you stay far away?" Then she said, "Okay." And then I came good to the girl. I said, "Hey, you can you deceive your mom, but not me. What's going on, girl?" "Whoa, I'm not a jinn. You talk like a man." I said, "Come on, girl, what's going on? Tell me, what's the truth?" There's no jinn or anything like that. And she is the poor mom. She'd been taking her daughter to mini qari, reading on her, charging her money, blowing on her water, making oil, and all this kind of stuff on her. Okay, for weeks. And I said to the girl, "I don't think there's anything wrong with you. Tell me what's wrong. Your mom can't hear it. Just tell me what's going on." And she looked at me, this look. And all of a sudden, all the face came back normal. She said, "My mom cut me that I have a boyfriend." She made up this whole thing just to get out of the problem, because her mom, she has a boyfriend. She's a single mom, teenager girl, hard to control. And her mom believed in this stuff, so she made it up. But she was so good, almost, you can fall for it. So what I'm saying is, not every voice a man coming out, every weird action, it means the person, okay, immediately. Like one thing that I do when I read somebody, and I did it here in the office not a long time ago, and I don't read on people too, very, very rarely to do that, if there is a need. So one thing sometimes I do, I put a bottle of water in the end of my table. And I said to the person who has the jinn, he said, "I don't believe you're jinn. If you jinn, knock down that bottle or tissue box. If you move that tissue box, I know you're jinn. Because there's no logical possibility for that bottle to be moved or that tissue box to be moved unless you are a jinn. There's no any logical explanation.
Like you're saying, show me something.
Yeah, show me proof. And if you're really jinn and you don't want to obey me, I'll keep reading and bothering you until you die. Because if you more read Quran, they burn them for whatever reason.
Even if they're a Muslim?
If they're Muslim, possessing the body, yes. If they are possessing the body, yes, because they are zalim. So I said, it's up to you. You want to stop, do that. And if it's fake, it's not going to happen. And it happened at least 1 or 2 times in my lifetime that they actually knocked down the one tissue box and one was a bottle of water. They knock it down. And at that point, I know that I'm not dealing with a regular situation. But I tell you, this is 1 in 1,000 case, in thousands of cases, or hundreds of cases. It's very rare for possession to be the human beings fully possessed. So most of the time, they scare you from outside. They can try to harm you, but for a jinn to be inside the body of human, it's a very, as far as we can see from these cases, they're very annoyed by that. It's not a normal thing.
Sheikh Kamal, beyond possession, another way that people interact with the jinn is through magic. So
Why are you asking me about magic?
I'm just saying, no particular reason.
No internet-related scandal?
Nothing with...
All right,
Yeah.
okay.
So if you could describe how is this magic that's not sleight of hand, we're talking about real magic, how does that play a part with regards to the jinn?
So the sorcerer uses, when they use black magic.
Can you just describe what is there something called white magic for there to be black magic? What is that? Or what's
Yeah. So when we say the black magician, we don't mean that he's black. He might be black, but we mean that someone who deals with black magic, right?
Dark magic.
Dark magic, sorcery, that kind of thing, not sleight of hand, as he said. And they employ...
Sleight of hand is pulling a bunny out of a hat.
Yeah, or
blah,
card
blah, blah.
tricks,
Card
or just
tricks.
misdirection, stuff like that, But here they're using jinn to harm people or to affect some kind of, emotion or love between, or hatred between couples, or love between couples, or something like magic potions, spells, all these things that include and have the jinn in them. And the sorcerer is a very wicked person, and that's why the ruling for the sorcerer is that he would be executed. Of course, not by a crowd with pitchforks, but like he would be taken to trial and stuff like that. And because what he does is very harmful, and it entails kufr, that he does some kind of blasphemy or kufr. Sheikh Walid has some really gross stories about some of these sorcerers and the things they do in order to become sorcerers, like really, really nasty stuff. And you're not supposed to go to them. Like, people will go to them to help with all kinds of things. Some people overseas are so used to going to the black magician. Or if someone is possessed by a jinn, they'll go to a sorcerer. I know it's haram to go to a sorcerer, but since he deals with jinn and we have a problem with the jinn, maybe they can wasta, talk to each other and get him out. La ya habib.
They make it worse.
They make it worse. Don't do that. But interesting, Sheikh, I was going to tell a story, and it's the exact story of that with that girl. And it was in Virginia, and the girl pretended she had a jinn, and then the Sheikh was like, listen, what's going on? She said, I've got a boyfriend, and my mom won't let me see him. But it just shows you that how susceptible we are to jinn being the cause, that even children use it, because we'll quickly believe that the jinn's behind everything.
So the next time you bring home a D, no, I'm just kidding. Okay.
I was going to tell a Sheikh Walid story where this guy came to him. If you don't mind, I'll tell it. He said, Sheikh, I think my mother-in-law did some sihr for my marriage. My marriage isn't going well. Sheikh was like, do you talk to her? No. Do you take her out? No. Do you have anything? No. He said, it's not your mother-in-law. It's you. It's not sihr, it's you. So we blame everything on sihr so quickly. And a lot of times it's our fault. You're the jinni, not you.
But I would say also, we're living in a time and society where they don't believe in the unseen world. That's also, we're living in Western society and the modern 21st century. Everything, it has to be something, if I don't see it, I don't believe in it. Also, remember, in Western culture, Christian culture, there is no concept of jinn. Jinn is a creation called jinn. And that's why even in English, when they want to talk about jinn, they use the word that's in Arabic, jinni. Because it's not part of the culture. There is nothing in the scripture, their culture, that's why people say, why Christian? They are full of jinn, don't worry. But it doesn't come up because it's not an option. They have
Demons.
Demons, but it's not jinn. As a creature created from fire versus angel created from light and human from, that's not three creations, not exist as a concept. And also for a very long time, even some trends in Christianity and Judaism believed in jinn, but long time ago from the medieval time, they have changed that, and there is a lot of movement among them who said, no, it's a metaphor, it's not even real. And they start saying, like some of that, what you hear in the Muslims, it's viruses and stuff like that. So it's not even an option. That's why you don't hear about it. And part of that today, it is because we only believe in what we see. But if you look at what's in the world today and what is all these documentation of things that's very abnormal, I have no doubt some of these report about UFOs and aliens and stuff like that can be jinn. Or Sheikh Kamal fascinated by Bigfoot, it can be jinn, seen and documentation of seen.
Bigfoot's real.
Yeah, it can be jinn. I mean, all these things that you hear, there is possibility. People see things. I'm not going to deny the reality of that because there's so many reports around the world in many areas like this abnormal activity, and they made even movies about stuff like that. Yeah. And people go to haunted houses and stuff like that.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to tell you.
Yeah, so I want to say, as much as you said there is exaggeration here, there is exaggeration denying as well.
I've heard, Sheikh, something interesting about the difference in the transformation of the jinn and the transformation of the angels. And that is that when a jinn transforms, it becomes limited to the physical body of what it's transformed into. Meaning that if it transforms into a snake, for example, you can kill it as a snake because it transformed into a snake. Whereas the angels, even if they transform into a human being, they're not killable.
I never heard that before, but sounds a good point.
Wasn't there evidence for that? The companion who killed the snake died.
The angels.
But who on earth ever killed an angel? Allah,
Well, Sheikh, I've actually, we can go into a tangent on angels, but I remember Sheikh, reading Sheikh Umar Sayman al-Ashqar's book on the world of the angels, and he said in his book, because I was trying to research angels dying, and he said, I've never seen evidence of an angel dying before the Day of Judgment or before the Qiyamah or what have you.
Ulama rahimahullah said in the Day of Judgment when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically put everything to death, some ulama said even the angels will be put to death, then resurrected. But some scholars said no, angels are among the things that will be living forever, like they don't die. That's why Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam وَالْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ يَمُوتُونَ. Humans and jinn dies. He did not include the angels. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But going back to the jinn, that's something you should learn from the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet said, if you see a snake inside your house, you don't rush to kill it. Okay? What do? You call animal control.
I was just going to ask you about that.
If you see a jinn in your, a snake in your house, the Prophet said, don't, inside the house, not in the backyard, inside the house. He said, don't kill it. He said, don't kill it. You give it 3 times, you tell them, if you are a jinn, leave. Because there is possibility that this can be an actual snake or can be a jinn in the form of a snake. He said, you tell them 3 times, leave the house. And you go. In any language, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about that. Okay? Leave the house. And when you say that, you leave the room or whatever it is, the place they are at, 3 times. And if they don't, after that, the Prophet ﷺ said, you have the permission to deal with it.
Sheikh, if you say, if you leave the room,
okay,
I have no idea where this snake just went.
I mean, it's corner.
You know, I understand this, especially back then when people can deal with snakes and scorpions. Today, if there's a snake, the family will leave the house for 3 days. They will go stay in a hotel. So what's that?
I mean, let's say in the upstairs, you go downstairs or you get out of the room, close the door for 3 times and you go back and you say that, then after that you deal with it. Don't kill it, just if you can control it. But there is type of snakes, the Prophet ﷺ said, jinn will not take the shape of these snakes. What are they? The cobra snakes, which we don't have. But the other one we have here in Houston, which is rattlesnakes, that jinn will not take the shape of rattlesnake. So if you see a rattlesnake, it is a snake. And the third one is al-aqra, which is a bald snakes with the 2 dots.
Viper. Viper.
Yeah. So
Vipers have
these are the snakes that the jinn will never take the shape of them. So whenever you see them, they are real snakes. Is the same rule applied to any snakes like in farms? No. Only inside the houses in the urban areas. So that's because in the process sometimes someone strike the snake. When he killed it, the narrator said, I don't know which one died first, the snake or the person. And that's a companion. Then the Nabi ﷺ told the Sahaba that was a jinn and he struck him back. He killed. Jinn can harm. And jinn can harm, defend themselves, whatever. So the person be careful when it comes to something like that.
Shaykhna, I caught a snake one time. It was a cottonmouth, which is the same as a water moccasin. It's a big snake and it can kill basically. It's a poisonous snake. So I called animal control. They said, we don't deal with snakes. Raccoon, cat, rat, we do. But wild snake, like snakes, we don't do venomous snakes. You have to call wild animal something. I called them, they're like 20 miles away. They said, yeah, you can catch it and bring it to us. We don't come to you. So I caught it and I let it go. But if it is a real snake now, I mean, I don't know. I'm just wondering what families would do. What would you do? Unless you have someone who watches a lot of Animal Planet, what are you going to do with it? Shoot
kill
it?
Kill it. I mean, if you have to.
Just get a broom and smack it.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to, if you can't get rid of it, safely.
Sisters, you could do that.
Yeah, going back to the jinn as well. One of the things I want to say, the creation of jinn, it shows Allah's ability to create so many different things. What I want to show you, jinn live among us. We don't see them, we don't deal with them, we don't have. It just shows you how powerful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. That's something to make you respect the power of the creation of Allah. Remember that. A lot of people believe in jinn and the power of jinn more than the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why when people say, oh, the jinn possessed, Ya akhi, Quran and Rokia protect you, will heal you. He believes in the power of jinn more than the power of the Quran. I tell them, read the Adhkar, will be protected. Oh, but the jinn, Ya Habibi, who's more powerful? The jinn or the Quran? The jinn or the Adhkar? And by the way, when people possess with jinn, the only thing to cure it and to protect you from jinn is simple, is the Adhkar. I remember my friend, the one I told you, I asked the jinn on him once, I said, why are you harming him and not harming me? Or it was next to me, Shaykh Muhammad Al-Arifi, if you know him, he's very famous. I said, why not any one of us? Then he said to me, because I can't even reach you guys. There is a wall between me and you. I said, what is that? He said, the adhkar, the morning dhikr and night that you guys do. The one that you say, لا يضر مع اسمه. كده he mentioned part of it, which is the dhikr. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam taught us to say every day, بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. He said, that's a wall between me and you. It's young people, I'm telling you guys, wallahi, and I'm telling you, jinn might harm you. Don't think of the harm of the jinn just as a physical, you go crazy and insane and it was not a movie, exorcism. And your neck start doing 360 and stuff like that. Not necessarily that. Al jinn can harm you, make you sick, make things goes bad in your life, depressed. It can cause so many things in your life. I'm telling you, one of the things that will protect you the most, it is adhkar, it is as-salah, that you can assist with it. You don't want to mess with this. And one of the worst things, those who try to call jinn.
Oh, yeah.
I know some cases in Muslim community where I've seen they play a game in their attic and their basements and their house.
Playing with Ouija boards.
Yeah, and they call for the jinn and stuff like that. And those family told me, since then, Sheikh, our life is terrible. They lost one of their kids, became completely messed up, hooked and any bad things. The house is terrible. Terrible things happen in the house. So why would you even do that? Why would you go that route? Or go to Louisiana to voodoo and mess with the stuff like that?
Or just go to Louisiana.
Huh?
I'm saying we just go to Louisiana.
Louisiana. Yeah, I know a sister in our community, she used to come to me. Before Islam, her mom wanted her to be a gifted woman.
Gifted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where she can read cards. You know the cards? I said, how would you be able to be gifted? She said, she took me to this guy who will make me a gifted woman. She said, I was a teenager. SubhanAllah, like what you said, Jinn, and they serve only people when people do bad things. So one of the things that this guy told her, and she telling me her story after she became a Muslim. And she told me one of the things that he made me to completely strip me from all my clothes, and he put me on a marble slab and put a cover on me. And he put some smokes, I don't know what is it, and I don't know what he did to me, and I'm not going to go to the details of what she told me, but, and I have to be in my period when I do that. And in any case, after that, she said, Sheikh, I don't know how it works, but I can tell you, I can tell a lot about you from the cards. I pull the cards, and the card will match your face, your name. I can tell, I don't know how it rushed to my head, all these voices about things about you, and I can tell about, if you want me to do it to you, Sheikh, I'll do it right now. I already have so many things like the same kid in my head. I said, I want to get rid of it. This lady almost killed me one day. Almost, she was that close to kill me actually. And that day I made a rule, I was a Medicine Islamiyah. You know that big needle that they do,
The knitting. Knitting with.
Yeah, she pulled it out and she stabbed me here on my neck. I held her hand, she was 2 inches or 1 inch away from my neck. She just stabbed me like I was like, whoa, alhamdulillah. I caught her hand, and after that I made a rule, I would never be close to someone when they read, and they cannot have their purses.
Their purse?
Yeah, her purse, she's like, and she has to have mahram with her too. And anyway, but this lady, she told me about things like these. She went and she asked for it. And it took her about 2 years constant work on herself until she got rid of that voices and that. So don't call it for yourself. Don't think too much about it. Live your life. And the main thing of my talk today is to make you care for your adhkar. I have no doubt there are so many people messed up in their heads because the shayateen play with their heads, because they're not consistent in their adhkar. Even if it is أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق every day. قل والله أكبر رب الناس. Don't ever miss it to say it in the morning and the night. There is so much been narrated about this issue
Of the adhkar.
Why? Why there is so much emphasis in the adhkar about protection? Must be there is harm, but that harm, don't just jump to what I said, to the extreme format of it. There's a lot of other harms can happen to you. It make you lazy for salah, make you lazy. Why you think people so hard to wake up for fajr? It's the influence of the shayateen on them. So not necessarily every time we talk about jinn and the influence of jinn, especially the bad among them, you just jump to the issue of, possessions or possessing your body or harming you or anything like that. Al-jinn also, some of them are good, so I'm sure they're listening to us right now, to give some of them are very good, are good Muslims. وَأَنَّا مِنَّا الْقَاسِطُونَ وَمِنَّا دُونَ ذَلِكَ. There is different levels. Some of them are very righteous. Some of them actually work to help Muslims, to help people, to fight back the disbelievers among them. They witness the salah, they witness. Somebody was telling me earlier about one of my friends, Sheikh Adil, who's a very trusted scholar, he's a scholar, mashallah, now a PhD, one of the students Sheikh Salih Fawzan, he told me himself the story, no one else. He went to we used to go in a place in the desert to play. Every time we go, like every week, we play soccer, we have like dinner there and stuff like that, take a class. So he said one time he went, but we were not there, we switched. That's in the outside in the like in the desert. He said I didn't see anyone there and I'm by myself. It's an open desert, like in a place in the desert. He said, I said it's Maghrib time. He called the adhan and the car in front of him. And he said, by myself. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Wala Dhalleen Ameen. It's like 200 people behind me. He said, Waleed, there's not a single car came. I'm in the desert. I didn't see, just nobody walking. And I hear this like about 200 people behind me say, Ameen. At least I know they're not Hanafis. So anyway, and he said, I was going to read Qul a'udhu bil falaq, but they said that will be sound bad.
That would be offensive.
I'm trying to scare them off. I don't know what to say. To say Qul a'udhu bin nas. I don't know what to read. Then he said, I said, and the second rak'ah, like a lot of people behind me. Then Ada said, and he telling me the story, no one else between us. He said, when it comes to, now the biggest problem was, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And I'm too scared to say Assalamu Can I see
what's behind him?
So I said, you know what, it's a sunnah anyway to go all the way there. So I said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And I stood up, I opened the door of my car, I got in the car, and I left. I did not look back. To see. There's nothing, he said, I saw, there's nothing behind me, I don't see anything. But I said to him, I bet you anything, they were so laughing at you at this point. You know, but some of them salihin, the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us, if you're on the falah in the desert and you call the adhan, any jinn Muslim will hear your call, will come and pray behind you. You know, they listen to your Quran, they listen, some of them are very good. So don't be always think in a negative way. They're among them who scholars and remind people of ilm. They go to Jannah and they will be, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward the righteous among them al Jannah. They got their books, their you know, their messengers to them among themselves. You know, before the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, أَلَمْ يَأْتِكُمْ رُسُلٌ مِّنْكُمْ يَقُولُ اللَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى. There is messengers come to you from within you, and from within your race. The only one was, the ulama said, was sent as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to them. But also the prophets before them, their message was a reminder to them. That's why they said, they compare the Quran to the Musa alayhi salam. Yeah. So that's they're aware of that. And Sulaiman alayhi salam. So that's my main point, and I will end my points here when Sheikh Kamal.
So another thing, basically, to protect yourself from that. So we've got the whole don't delve into their world. You know, people will just stand in an empty room. Show yourself if you're here. Don't do that stuff. They will show. Don't worry about it, and then you won't be happy. So that's one. The other thing is, a lot of times, in those rare times, a lot of times it will be that the jinn is infatuated or even in love with an individual. And so what are ways to protect yourself from that? One of the things, like when you remove your clothing, you say the Adhkar, you know, Bismillah, Bismillah, alladhi la ilaha illahu. In the hadith, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said it creates a barrier or a shield between you and the eyes of the jinn. So, because the scholars mention that they love the human body because their bodies are not as beautiful, so they're very much attracted to the human body. And if someone walks around wearing very skimpy clothing, or some people walk around unclothed around the house, they live alone and just walking around what we call Rabbi kama khalaqtani, right? So they're walking around like that, and the jinn are looking at them and they become attracted to them. And so many of the stories of possession are, he was attracted to him or he was attracted to her. So beware of those kinds of
Even if
things.
it's not attracted to him. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us that al-jinn give an evil eye. That's why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "A'udhu bi kalimatillahi tammat," is a protection from the evil eye of the human and the jinn. So they give you an evil eye. I can't say enough. Don't stay naked. Don't spend too much naked in the bathroom. Wallahi, I'm telling you as an advice, as your brother, I have seen how this, even if it's rare, it is not worth it. You speed up, you finish your business, put your clothes on. Stay naked, looking at yourself in the mirror naked and stuff like that.
What about the 20-minute shower?
It's a risk. Shower, you take a shower, but I'm talking about like naked,
Just staring at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, it's not a good habit and it can cause problem. This is one of the most common problem that I've seen or I heard of as a cause of trouble. The good point, Sheikh.
Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much.
I did want to say, Sheikh Walid, when I lived in Virginia, Sheikh Walid sent me in the mail a gift. When I opened it, it was a t-shirt that had an image, a drawing of Bigfoot on it. And then he sent me a fatwa with it, saying, since Bigfoot is not real, you can wear it, because it's a fictional character. I never wore it.
Because Bigfoot is real.
Bigfoot's real.
But my understanding, you think it's a jinn.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's a form, it's not real.
Yeah.
So you still can wear it.
Yes.
That's Sheikh Ahmed.
Yeah, like any Fajr Muslims. Yani Muslim can rob you, can take you. You know the guy who put the gun on somebody's head? And he said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. He said, oh brother, give him a hug. So Muslim can harm Muslims.
Okay.
That's a lot of afiyah.
A lot of
So
questions.
even if they are Muslim, but
Yeah,
not good
we're
Muslim.
gonna have.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
man.
little man. Yes.
So, can some prophets see the actual jinn form?
Yeah. تفضل. Go for it.
تفضل شيخ.
Yes.
Dawood alayhi
All prophets have the ability to see the jinn in their original forms. All prophets and messengers have the ability to do that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed them to do that. But the one prophet have the power to control them was Sulaiman, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam.
Dawood, Sulaiman.
Yes. This is most likely narration from Israeliyat, not from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But we know for sure that jinn were created before humans. Because the shaitan was created before Adam, and the shaitan is from the jinn. And some scholars believe a shaitan is the father of the jinn, the first jinn, like Adam, the first human of our race. Okay? So, and the proof for that, they said, وَذُرِّيَّتَهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referred to the jinn as his offsprings. It's not very clear, but it could be. That's an opinion Imam Malik rahimahullah mentioned and others. That he's the father of all the jinn. But the details, it could be, Allah knows. But definitely that's one of the explanations why the angel said, you're going to put Adam on earth, so they fight each other, because they were referring to the jinn, because they were fighting one another. So the fighting on earth, because we are like jinn mukallafeen, there is taklif. We're not created just to do good. We have that ability to make wrong decisions and good decisions and so forth. Yes, hi.
Since one of the abilities of the jinn is to whisper into your ear, can some Muslim jinn whisper into your ear and tell you something like good to do instead of something bad?
I don't know anything of that nature what is whispered to you to do good. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, "Inna lish-shaytani lamma wa inna lil-malaki lamma." The angels inspire you. The thought that comes not to your ear, to your head, it's from the angel. There is an angel for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appointed an angel to inspire you to do good. That's why the shaitan appointed one of his followers to whisper to you the bad, just to do the opposite of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did to you. Can the jinn help? I know of stories where there is jinn help them, actually telling them, hey, there is, in this particular place, there is a magic charm was made. Go dig it out. And he goes and he dig it out and he see it and he break it. So sometimes they might, it's very rare, or not rare, but I mean, it can happen. Allah knows best.
So that's one thing the cartoons got right. That the devil comes to you from this side and then the little angel comes from the other. Right?
Yeah.
So
You know, what is about the cartoons, there is a narration from Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, which is usually, he heard that from Ahlul Kitab, that he said in the end of the days, the people will dig out from the oceans bottles and jars where Sulaiman have put jinn in it. And they will release them without realizing, and it will spread corruption on earth.
No, they won't ask you for 3 wishes. Well,
So that shows you even stories and fairy tales. Sometimes you might have some kind of cross cultures and not necessarily we don't believe in it. That's true 100%. Allah knows best. But it's interesting to hear that even something like that was mentioned in a society like the companion radiallahu anhu. Yes.
When we use the bathroom, we are told to say Allahumma najini min al-kufr wal-khaba'ith. Now, when we do that, let's assume that you decide you want to take a bath. Will that protect you? I know you said don't stay naked, but if you're in the shower, should you keep your clothes on in order to take
No. You say Bismillah. No, I'm talking about naked, like people like naked in front of the mirror, like taking pictures, and like taking 20, 40 minutes, like girls and boys, they do that. But no. I'll tell you a funny story about being in the bathroom. So I was traveling, okay? I was traveling, and I'm in the middle of nowhere in south of Saudi Arabia. Okay, if you know where is that, Balgarno, Zahran, these areas are very remote area. And I had a very bad stomach at that time. And the closest hospital was like about 3 hours away. So I told the guys, I have to go to the bathroom. So there's at that time, there's no restaurants, nothing. And it was late in the night. So I had to break into the bathroom of the masjid. There was a chain. I had to kick the door, break in literally. So I go inside. There's no light. So the guys put the light.
The headlights
from the car. You following? It's in a remote place in the mountain. I break in. There's a bathroom outside by itself. So I go to this bathroom and I get inside. I'm just about to do my own business, and I hear next to me, in the bathroom next to me, 2 people talking.
In the dark.
In the dark. Said, oh, did you see that lady this morning with the cow? And they talking about a lady and a cow and carrying it. I was like, I'm in the bathroom. What should I say? Bismillah, a'udhu billah. I'm like inside the bathroom. You know what? I just finished. They scared the crap out of me. So I had to leave. Literally. So, and I just wash my hands. And I tell the guys, did anyone came inside? They said, no. We were crazy. There's nobody here. So, so I said inside my heart, Bismillah.
Told the professor.
which word?
That you threaten them. How did you threaten your family, friends, jinn?
The one that was reciting upon?
Yeah.
Oh, like people who walk in and start to like challenge them.
How
and
you
stuff?
threaten
No,
a
you
jinn.
said you threatened him. You threatened
Oh,
that
okay.
family or
Yeah.
friend's jinn.
Yeah, so
Continue reading.
basically, just to be clear, what I was trying to say, and I've done it more than once. It was that one I was reading for, and then I used to live in a house where they were just in the bedroom. They just move stuff at night, and then they come choke you with kalamda. So my whole thing is, so my whole thing is to not show them that I'm afraid. So I would wake up, sit up in the dark, like, you know what, I swear to God, if you come back again, just trash talk kida, yani. Which all it means, because I couldn't choke him, you know, you can't touch him. All it means is just to show, I'm not afraid of you guys. And we continued having fun for a year. And the funny thing was that my wife, even 4 years later, I would tell her, don't you want to know why I used to hit things in the house at night and say things? Don't tell me. Like, you're not curious? Then just don't tell me. But that's my point. You can't really threaten them. What are you going to do? You can't touch them. But just know I'm not afraid of you. You know?
Wow.
Yes.
This is the first time all the questions are from the guy's side. Not a single. They're just like, don't tell me.
Noor has a question.
She said, do non-Muslims have jinn as well? Are you talking about possession, or are you talking about?
Do they encounter them? Well, I mean, it's rare to encounter jinn anyways, but when they do, they call them ghosts, UFOs, because, Bigfoot, yeah, because they don't have
Demons also.
demons.
And by the way, some priests do exorcism.
Exorcism, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in Egypt is very famous. They take, even Muslims, unfortunately,
Yeah.
they take some of their sus one or something like that to the church, and the priest will read on them and will, subhanAllah, sometimes they read verses from the Bible that can be effective because it's still part of Allah's word, but not the one that has shirk.
Ajib. But you know, I always say, yani, the shaitan, he's so, they're so crafty that, there'll be stories of, you'll take someone to a sheikh and the sheikh will read upon them for 3-4 months and finally the jinn leaves. And then you might hear some stories where the priest, just a little bit in the name of Christ, the guy leaves. So they said that, look how crafty the shaitan is. To confirm to this priest that he is upon the truth, he will exit quickly. When he tells him in the name of Lord of Christ, he will exit quickly to solidify the iman in his heart. Yeah. Just for that reason. And look how tricky and how deceitful they are.
Okay, those sheikh who said we are qaris, be aware of the following. Overcharge. People, anyone tell you I'm charging you by the hour, by the blow, $500. Okay? I'm serious, people spend thousands. Anyone like that, don't go back to this person. Anyone tells you I'm specialized in Rokia, don't ever go to that person. Anyone tells you there's no such thing called specialized in Rokia. That's a scam. Anyone tells you when he reads on the person, anyone tells you, oh, this is a jinn, a flying jinn. This is a black magic, but not a white magic. This is this type of magic, this type of madriyah. Immediately know that this is nonsense. No one knows that stuff. That's somebody just, playing with you. Anyone using physical. Anyone
Touch.
using physical. No,
Beatings.
physical, like, I've seen people, even in Houston and stuff like that, use excessive force. Beating, water, electricity, stuff like that's torturing. Don't laugh, that's torturing. I know of cases, people say that we're reading in the jinn and they cause the person to lose their thumbs, they caused like a damage. People went to jail. People die because of that. So anyone who tell you stuff like that, don't go to them.
But I still also want to add touch for the non-mahrams.
I'm going to come to the by itself. That's a very good point. Anyone who read in a woman by herself or tell you anything like weird, unfortunately, one of the common thing that these raqis fall into it is zina, adultery. The shaitan play with them. You know, oh, I need to touch your chest. I need to touch your neck. I need to touch your stomach. Not from the clothes. I need to touch it directly. Why? All this kind. Also, liwat, a'udhu billah. Even homosexuality is a very common thing that they fall into that. So anyone do like any sexual or weird or ask for a woman to be alone, immediately cut them off. Anyone tells you information about your mom's name or give me any weird stuff like that, immediately you leave that. That's not a raqi. You cancel that person. Okay?
What if they ask for items, Sheikh? Bring me 2 eggshells, a mustard, and musharif.
Yeah, and all these things like a feather from half purple rooster. Okay, immediately you know that this is nonsense. Once Sheikh bin Baz asked me to go to Iraqi, and he told me go check him out, and tell me what you think of him. So I went to this Iraqi. His name Abu Bara is a good man, Palestinian, good man, mashallah. Has a very beautiful book, 3 volumes, about Rokia. Very good book. It's a very good resource. Anyway, so I went to him, and everything was checked except one thing I didn't like about him. That he had 2 sets of water. One was 50 riyals and one was 100 riyals. And he said, this is concentration qira'ah, and this is just normal one. And I thought this is the only, I told Shaykh Baz, give him an advice later on, and I think he stopped doing that. But anyway, other than that, he followed the sunnah, nothing like wrong or anything like that. Later on we became friends, and I acted as if I'm a sick person. And he came to read with me. He said, there's nothing wrong with you. Why you're here? I said, no, I don't feel well. I just mean the ruqya benefit anyway. And after that, we became friends. Alhamdulillah.
He was legit.
So these are things, pay attention to it, because I know it's not a common thing, but it happened. And it happened inside here. Guys, Sheikh, you remember the Sheikh that we brought here?
Sheikh Ammar Shaheen.
Sheikh Ammar Shaheen. Okay? Just to know, because somebody said to me, why you guys talk about jinn? Sheikh Ammar Shaheen said, he made a study. In 1 month, the highest request of ruqya came from Houston.
In the country.
He said in 1 month, he received over 3,000 requests from Houston only for ruqya.
That doesn't mean there's 3,000 cases of jinn in
No,
Houston.
there's people obsessed with that.
Yeah.
There's obsession with it. That's just he was telling me this, Sheikh Walid,
Sheikh,
this
they were
is a
all
problem.
probably, that's how they were trying to understand what happened to the rockets over the past 4 years. So they just assumed that it was the jinn.
Yeah, so it's a sad, to see that. I hope this make you understand how this function, the nature of them, you can deal with it in a better way. But please take my advice. Make sure you protect yourself with the adhkar. At least 1 or 2 adhkar that you memorize and you consist in it.
What are 3 adhkar you recommend, Sheikh? Just
قل أعوذ برب الفلق قل أعوذ برب الناس قل الله أحد. In the morning when you wake up, in the night before at Asr or before Maghrib. And if you can say بسم الله الذي لا يضر مع اسمه شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء وهو السميع العليم. And the third one أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. And be consistent in your salah. These are so important for you to be consistent in doing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us.
Worst comes to worst, you can recite upon yourself. My favorite exorcism story, this Moroccan guy in Virginia, he was certain something happened to him. It was not normal. Something smacked into his forehead. He started hearing things. He knew he was possessed. Look what he did. What a champion this guy is. He went to the library in the masjid. He took a mushaf and he told the jinn. He said, Wallahi, I'm not leaving here till you leave. He said, I recited for a couple of hours till I got sleepy. I fell asleep. I saw in a dream the jinn is sitting in my chair and I'm walking towards it with a knife. I woke up, I continued reading, read for another couple of hours until I got sleepy. He said, I fell asleep. I saw in my dream the jinn, same jinn, sitting in the chair and its throat was slit like this. I woke up, I recited just a little bit, I felt something leave. Hero, that's it. One sitting, killed
MashaAllah.
it. Didn't ask for a sheikh, didn't.
Yeah, Al-Quran, tarqi nafsik.
Yeah.
And I want to say also sometimes, I don't know, should I say that? Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you live with it for the rest of your life. And that's the worst part. Like I've seen cases, no matter what you read, no matter what you do, it became like you have an illness, you know, like you're diabetic. There's no cure for it, we know. And people start adjusting at this point.
So the best cure is prevention. Just prevention.
Jazakumullah khair. Sheikh, the Shabab want to know, in your two stories, one, did that jinn end up paying for the class? Two, was the girl jinn pretty?
Oh, the one that, yeah, she has a long hair.
Long hair, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't remember the face. But I don't know that make her pretty, but jinn are ugly in general, not pretty, and they don't look attractive. But that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He said about shayateen, He said the tree of hellfire look like the faces of the shayateen. The shayateen are the jinn. But Allah beautify those who will enter Jannah among them. Did he pay for the class? No, he didn't. He left the class.
He left the class.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You said who has the ability to talk to the jinn?
Yeah.
Oh, how do you learn to do ruqya and stuff?
No one has the ability to talk to the jinn on a regular basis. No one except prophets like Sulaiman alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given that ability to talk to them all the time, communicate with them. But no human beings have that ability to say, I talk to them whenever I want. Unless this is the magician, he has some jinn, so even not upon when they want to talk to him. But when you do a ruqya to someone, anyone can make a ruqya. That's why you do ruqya to your own self. A ruqya, it's a form of dua and a protection you read. So it can be randomly happen to you read to someone, but and you make basically say you read Surah Al-Fatiha. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum made a ruqya, and none of them like was special. That's why I said anyone said I'm a specialized raqi, you know that is nonsense. There's no such thing specialized in ruqya. There's no such thing specialized in ruqya. A ruqya is just to read Al-Fatiha, Qul Rabb al-Nas, to make dua for the person, and that's it. Anything beyond that is people made up, you know. But what if I read on someone and something abnormal could happen to me? What I deal with it? You need a little bit of experience. If this is the case, I advise you. It's like it's a form of curing, so you need to know a little bit of how to deal with it. So you back off. You don't, right? Because you can be harmed also as a person who doing the ruqya to the jinn. He can harm the person who doing that, because they are ignorant. So, you know, I'll just be careful not to get too excited about it and to think of yourself the raqi and stuff like that. Yes, sir. Continue.
If they communicate with you,
They talk with you in the same, sometimes they talk to the person with the tongue of the person that they possess, and very rare if they talk from the air kida. Yani you just hear the voice and you don't see anything in front of you. That's happened. No. No. No.
there is no skill to possess.
It's no skills. But if it happened to you, if somebody possessed it and talked to you, he will talk to you. When you read Quran on them, they basically react and they will speak up. And they will tell you either with the same voice, sometimes with a different voice completely. And here what we say, it's tricky part. Why it's a tricky? Because in my experience, 95, 97% of the cases, that is not a jinn. It's the actual person has a mental health issues. It's the person speaking, no jinn. But in the very rare cases, it can be the jinn. That's why when I see a case like this and I don't know it's a jinn or not jinn, you know what? Just read the Quran, just make the dua. If it's a jinn, alhamdulillah. If it's not a jinn, alhamdulillah. End of the day. It's not going to increase my iman, it's not going to decrease my iman if it's a jinn or not jinn.
I just wanna if you have more questions for Shaykh Walid, inshallah ta'ala, we'll just end right now. We'll end the recording, inshallah ta'ala, in the live broadcast, and then everyone who's here in the masjid, you can ask whatever questions you want to the mashayikh, inshallah ta'ala. Everyone, next week, inshallah, we'll continue with Friday Night Lights, obviously. For those of you who want to actually listen to Sheikh Ammar Shaheen's presentation that he did here at CLIC Lake Islamic Center, you can look up the channel. It was called Black Magic and the Evil Eye by Sheikh Ammar Shaheen. So you can find that on our YouTube channel, inshallah ta'ala, CLIC Lake Islamic Center. Other than that, we'll see you all next week, inshallah. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.